Me. Do.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Do. Is it strange to hear your own voice though?
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure like you got used to it by now. But
Yeah, but what was it? Whenever Tommy and I figured out how to use it, we were like, what?
Yeah.
Like we heard our voices and our woes, I guess, were kind of in sync at the same time.
Whoa.
Exactly, whoa.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's cool though.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is.
I'll record this audio and then send it to you.
Oh no, that's okay. That is a-okay. Meet.
Let's see everything.
Oh, there you go.
No, you good. I just want to make sure all the cords and stuff are connected.
It's pretty neat how it can pick up sounds like from over there.
Oh yeah, the air fryer beeps were so crispy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. Can you hear yourself though?
Yeah, I can. Even like from far away like this, I could still hear myself through here. How far away can you go?
Well, you can go pretty far. The sensitivity is pretty high.
It is. I've noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you actually like your own voice or not really?
No.
Me neither. I don't like it either. Oh, you know what's funny, Alec? One of the customers thought like I was a man.
Huh?
Yeah, they thought I was a man.
Wait.
Yeah, cause you know.
Wait, huh?
Yeah, cause apparently, you know, I was just telling her how one of her, I guess her grandson's medication was actually ready, but then they claimed that it wasn't ready. Then she called back and saying, "Well, I talked to a man and said that it was ready." And I was like, "What?
Huh?
Do I sound like a man?"
You didn't come in with deep voice on, huh?
Wait, what?
You
No,
didn't come in with,
no, I came
"What's
like
up?
this.
What up? Or like.
No, I didn't say like the man deeply voice. I really like that. It was my normal voice.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I was just curious. Like, do I sound like a man?
No, you don't. You shouldn't think that way. I guess you sound like a man to them, but no.
I just thought that maybe it's like, oh, is it maybe because my voice seems a little bit lower than a lot of the girls or something? Or
no,
really?
No. You're fine.
I'm fine.
I don't know what they're thinking, but you're fine.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing at that. Like, that's a first. I don't think I've heard anyone tell me that before.
No, you're fine. Wait, how do you know they? Okay, tell me more. Give me more.
Yeah, no. Okay, so like I said, so the second time they called back, it was actually my technician picked up the phone asking me, like, telling her, it's like, yeah, like, well, someone in the pharmacy, sound like a man, told me my grandson's medication is ready, and my tech was like, oh, but we have no man who works back here. What are you talking about?
Oh my god.
Yeah. So then at that point, I was just thinking that, oh, I guess that means my voice is a little lower than like a lot of girls, I guess. I don't know. No.
You're in the clear.
I'm in the clear.
You don't sound like a male, first of all.
Oh.
I don't know what they were thinking, but you're fine. You're fine.
I appreciate. I mean, if I do, it's fine. I'll accept.
No, it's not necessarily fine, but like you don't sound like a man.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've had that same experience on the phone at work too. Like, they're like, there's some woman talking to me, but I was like, oh, I'm actually a guy, and my name is Alec, not Alexis or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, bro, I was like, I think my voice is a little deep, but
Yeah, you do not sound like a girl at all.
what was it?
What?
One of the ladies are like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, I'm a man. I'm a guy.
Okay. That case is fine because you know how sometimes it's just like an automatic thing saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am, depending on the population, and it's fine. But the fact like she actually acknowledged you as a female, though, that's customers are so weird. They're so weird. But no, I
think
like,
that's whenever I was wearing my mask to work too. So I guess like half my face was covered, my hair was a little longer.
Wait. She saw you in person?
Yeah.
What?
It's like
No!
I was like, I got my name tag on, like.
Alec, no,
there was one time a customer came in. She looked, I guess, a little manly. She had short hair, the cap on. I guess like she hadn't used moisturizer in a few years or so. I was like, I can help you over here, sir. And she's like, in like her womanly voice, I'm coming, sir. Give me a minute. I was like, no, but it was frightening, cause like her name was so like woman. It's Pam.
Oh.
Her name. It's like, can I have your name? Pam. I was like.
That's so.
I was like, no. I'm like, I am so sorry. I thought you were a man for a minute. She's like, it's okay. It happens all the time. I'm like, all the time.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh no, I'm not. This ain't new to her.
Oh no.
I was so embarrassed, but she's like, she understood. I was like,
at least she's
like,
understanding.
It's like, have a nice day.
Yeah. Oh no.
Here's your receipt. Goodbye.
At least she wasn't mad at you about that or anything like that, because I had a kind of similar thing where I thought it was a guy, but it was also a female. But but the voice is just really, really low. But it's over the phone, so I couldn't really tell. And then there was a man who really sounded like a girl, though, and he just have a higher pitch, and that was also over the phone. But I figured out who he was now. He's one of our regulars now. But it was
it's the one with the long. It's the ones with the long hair that. I'm just confused.
No.
I'm like, oh my god, you got me.
But that doesn't make sense.
What's
How
up?
like that doesn't make sense. How like.
Thought my name was Alexis.
Yeah, like what the heck?
What's up?
Hello.
You want cheesecake?
Hello.
Bread?
Aww.
All right. We're good? All right.
Been good. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to spread the knowledge and wisdom of your lives on Thienletics?
Yeah, let's do this. Okay.
Okay, so the topic that we have today is this episode is gonna be about anxiety.
Okay.
So, I guess we could start by just having a introduction of who we are, and we'll just go around the circle, and then after that we'll just go from there.
Okay.
So, I guess I'll start just to kind of set the flow of things.
Okay.
So my name's Tommy. My experience with anxiety growing up is I'm 29 now, but it's been a big limiting factor of my life. I think a lot of things I want to do, it's usually held behind by like a force field, and that force field is anxiety. And it's like, it's just hard for me to do things that I want to do without either it's fear of judgment from other people, or honestly the worst thing is currently just the judgment of myself. So I'll try, let's say I want to like start this podcast. Starting this podcast took a long time because it was like, well, what if you end up a failure? And my negative inner voice would be like, yeah, you'll just end up a failure. So that is currently something that I'm struggling with, anxiety.
Alrighty. Alright, my name's Alec. I guess I would say I'm in the beginning stages of anxiety because I've experienced it, but like I'm trying to overcome it in a way. Being that I'm 20, about to become a legal boy. Not yet though, not yet. But like I see it as how would I say? I think it's a negative trait that I put upon myself because I take things way too seriously. I think about my future and like
I think about my future as if it's a life or death situation in a way, because if I don't do things correctly, I'll fail. Kind of like what Tommy's saying, like adding on to the aspect of failure. I see myself as a serious person dealing with serious things way too seriously. I think that's how I like to say it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It does. Of course.
You're basically saying how you have like high expectations of yourself, I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hi, I'm on. I guess like with me with anxiety is that I
Sorry, On. Can you move closer to the mic?
Yeah. Okay. Is this better?
A little bit.
A little bit better?
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Okay. Hi, I'm on. So today's topic is about anxiety, and I do agree with Tommy that anxiety did run a lot in my life, especially growing up with the fear of the society, and also I guess there's also fear of my family as well, and especially the society where people is judging you. But I think right now what I'm struggling with is anxiety of not being where I wanted to be in my life, because I guess like for example earlier today I made a mistake and I really beat myself for it a lot, and because of that mistake that I made, I having like really bad thoughts of looping thoughts. It's like, man, I'm not doing things right. I thought like, since I'm a little bit older now, I should have done this, I should have done that, but it didn't happen that way. And it's just more thought loops of like that, and just anxiety of perfectionism and thinking of should have and would have. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to deal with at the moment, but trying the best I could, so.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Hey.
Okay, so just transitioning in. My name is Tu Huyen, and I'm currently 27. I am Asian American. I was born in Vietnam, and most of my life I grew up in America. I want to give my background because I have a few things to talk about when it comes to anxiety, so I just want the audience to have a little bit of a better understanding. So I entered into college and I got an education teaching degree, right? Basically, so I teach 7th grade students, and I had experience teaching multiple levels since I was also a sub. And from teaching the students, I saw a lot of anxiety in everybody. So when I hear that people are dealing with anxiety, I see it in everyone. So I think that is actually a topic that should be very open, because if everybody has anxiety and is dealing with it, then we have to understand ways to cope. I do relate to Tommy and I relate to On when they both talked about having anxiety for a lot of their lives, and I've also been one to have that. So, excuse me, that was my phone. It's about time to sleep. But anyways, I had anxiety from a very young age. Like I said, I was born in Vietnam, so it was very tumultuous to go to America and have to learn a different language. English is my second language. And I went through a lot of bullying. I went through a lot of just having to assimilate and having to understand how to operate in the culture in America. So I feel like that built up my personality a lot, but just zooming out, and so what I'm trying to say is that it's not all based on the person and whether they have anxiety or not. I feel like everybody has it. Again, kind of just solidifying my point. And I think it can be from either environmental factors, like I said, oh, you move somewhere and you're really scared to be the new kid, or it could be something like that An said earlier. It could be within your household. Maybe like there's a person giving you like those anxious thoughts, or like with Alec, he was talking about how his expectations causes him anxiety, and I feel like that is pretty universal. Everybody has, high expectations, whether it's your parents or whether it's yourself. And it's really important to deal with anxiety by multiple outlets, like, for example, self-care or therapy, mental health apps, meditation. So I'm just gonna leave that there and let somebody else kind of jump in. Yeah, because I know that's a lot.
I like that's very eloquent of you. All of our intros are like, hey, I'm Tommy. This is my experience with anxiety. Hi, I'm Alec. This is my experience with anxiety. Hi, I'm On. This is my experience with anxiety. But you went through like a very deep origin story, and then you kind of led into how to best manage it, or how we can cope with it. I guess since you were talking about your origin story, my origin story of anxiety is I was doing a lot of meditation, and I was trying to figure out I think everyone does experience anxiety, but then I think having anxiety be kind of pathophysiological is whenever it starts to intrude in your thought patterns too. So everyone does experience anxiety, but I think whenever it gets to a point where it's almost debilitating, I think that's something that I currently have, because so my origin story is I was 12 years old, and I remember moving from California to Louisiana, and very much to what Tu were saying earlier about sometimes whenever you move to a new school you experience anxiety because it's a new environment and it's scary because everything is new. And for me, I think it became more of like an issue because I didn't have a support system coming here. My parents were working all the time, and I didn't have any friends whenever I moved to the school in Louisiana. And because of that, I just kept having this state of fear, and it just kept me from making friends. And that was kind of like a theme of mine growing up from like 12 to 18, is that I was mostly an introvert and I didn't really talk to anybody. I was that kid that like sat alone at lunch and I would just eat my food, and then whenever there would be like a break time, I would kind of be like, well, I'll just sit here alone. And it wasn't like people tried to talk to me, but I think I was just so scared that I couldn't open up to them.
Dang, that's weird. You let it be known. I didn't. I was like, I had friends when I was younger, so it's like, to them, I was miniature Alec hype man. Like I brought the hype anywhere, but like because of my toxic home environment, it's like that's where my anxiety usually manifested. Like it was just cooking in there. It was bad.
So you think your origin was more based off of like home environment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Alec's situation. Mine is similar to him, because when growing up with me was more like my parents basically infused saying, oh, don't do this because other people will judge you. And it's because of that fear that my parents put into all of us is what made us worry about what other people think. Because they were like saying, they're going to think badly of you, they're going to judge us. And it's horrible, really, because I started to like really doubt myself, and then they started to like compare and stuff, saying like, you're not good enough because why is it this person did better grades than you and they did this, and why couldn't you achieve that? And it's bad. It's really horrible.
Yeah. That hit.
Yeah,
oh my god.
It sucks that like a lot of parents' methods of that is comparing. They think like that should motivate you to do better, but it's not really. But I guess that's just the way how they grew up, really. I found it, unfortunately. Never really, mostly like the emotional support side. Never really grew up with that. Did you? What about you? Too?
Of the home life? I mean, yes, I definitely relate to you guys. Just growing up Asian American, you know, my parents, they didn't get to have a great education, so they really pushed me to have a good education. When I was in 4th grade, I made 1B. I had all A's, okay? I went to school, and I had my little report card with my teacher, and my teacher was praising me left and right, this and that. And then we get to the B, and she gets a little skittish, you know, and she wants to, because I think she understands to a certain extent, so she was talking to my mom about it. She said, hey, you know, she made a B, but that's okay. My mom gives me this little stare, you know, and I kind of look at her, and I think it's definitely different ways of reacting to things and like what kind of a daughter and son you are. For me, I'm very rebellious, so just giving a background, okay? I think normal kids would just be like, okay, I'm so scared of my mom, but in my head I was like, excuse me, ma'am? Do you know how hard I work for this B, you know? And I was like a kid at the time. So anyways, yes, I have a little anger in me that like helps with a lot of things. It can be passionate or it can be like bad, but I normally stay on the right path. Yeah. Anyways, so we went to the car, and she confronted me about it. She said, so you got a B, you know? And she stared at me, and I stared at her back. I was like, I did have a B. Do you know what that means? She's like, what does that mean? I was like, it means like 2nd place. Have you ever heard of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place? They all got awards. They all got awards. That means we all won. And then she's like, oh, okay, I understand now. So I kind of like, you know, what's it called? Bamboozled her a little bit. But yeah, that's just how I handled it.
Oh, wow.
What?
Oh,
That's so good that you're like, you get that fire,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
fiery
I always
spirit.
had a fight.
That's awesome though too, because that's awesome that like even growing up you have like that fighting rebellious spirit. I think
Yes.
that's amazing. Like
But-
I wish I had that growing up.
But you always can have it.
It's
It's
only
just
that.
so bringing it back to like anxiety and I guess how to deal with it. There's different responses, like the fight, flight, bond, freeze responses. So I think it's really important for people to understand like how you react and everything, because anxiety is in multiple forms. It can even be, you know, whenever you're doing a presentation, and everybody has to talk at some point. You know, you got to talk for your for college. You have to talk at the job interview. So I think it's how you're using that anxiety to fuel you. So you can either use anxiety to fuel you in a negative way, or try to use it in a positive way. Because what I'm thinking is that anxiety is energy. You gotta kind of hone the energy and push it where you want it to go. So I just say this, and I want people to be in control of anxiety. So however it is that you're in control of anxiety, don't let other people knock you down. So if you journal and somebody says, man, that is some girly stuff, you know, I don't know if you can curse on this podcast, but I'm like,
You're fine.
You know,
You're fine.
what?
You're fine.
Screw them, okay? But I can journal, I can do whatever it is. No toxic masculinity here, okay? And then like for the girls too, like at home, okay, if your parents don't understand it, well, hey, guess what? You were in the war trauma, okay? So maybe you don't understand my point of view, but maybe I can help you out one day. So I just see it like that, and I don't let them bring me down. So I think that's just one of the ways that you can like cope with it. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good background info is to say that we're all Vietnamese,
Yeah.
and we're obviously the Vietnamese. I actually think the Vietnamese population is, at least this generation, we are at most predisposed to anxiety and depression, because I think out of all of the other Asian races, we're like the most recent whenever it came to like war trauma. Like the Vietnam War happened in the 1970s, and we're basically the generation that grew up after all those refugees came. So we're kind of dealing with the ramifications of that war, and it's kind of kind of our role at the moment to kind of deal with that generational trauma that came from the war.
You guys are like first gen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're considered first generation. I was gonna mention that. that too.
Because I think I'm like 1.5 gen, because my dad was born in Vietnam, but my mom wasn't. So I count myself as like the middle ground between first and second gen. So like, what I learned in my psych class is like when parents experience such trauma, like depression, anxiety, it carries on to the kid, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of wonder, I'm like, damn, what did my relatives go through?
Yeah.
Like, damn, because I know my dad came here with his, like, with my other aunts and uncles whenever he's like 5. But my mom was born here. And I guess she saw my grandparents, I guess, decline in wealth, because my grandpa was pretty well off in the motherland. But my dad's parents weren't. So I kind of see like the differences of how they deal with anxiety, right? Like my dad is like he's basically the breadwinner of the house. So he only takes care of the financial side. But anything else, he's like, he knows nothing about. But my mom, since she wasn't like well off when she was growing up, my mom knew everything. Like my mom knew how to take care of everything else besides like being financial, I guess. So like I see them clash all the time, right? And I see how they deal with anxiety. The way my dad deals with anxiety is like, I guess he puts a lot of burden on himself, like I do, and like he tries his best to provide for us, because I guess my grandparents didn't provide as much for him in a way. And for my mom, she's like, what can I do to help my children thrive, you know, instead of being like financially like stable in a way. And it's like, damn, I got the bad hand, because I deal with both of that shit. I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do? I can either be financially stable and like still have all this trauma, or I can take care of my siblings and still have like a bunch of financial trauma. So I'm like, what do I do? And like, I guess when I said my toxic home environment, like I could kind of see that like cooking up whenever I'm like, as I'm about to reach that legal age, because like I either make the move to be as successful as I possibly can, or like I guess I move on a different path and do something I really like. And it's just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's like I gotta take care of my people, and it's like that's why I'm doing this podcast. It's like this is my side project to let my creative side out. But I still deal with that professional side where it's like I gotta do this. I gotta do this to make that six figures, you know. I thought I gotta take care of them, and I'm the oldest, so it's just like it sucks even more because I have that burden on me too. I've been dealt the bad hand. Ugh.
I understand what the idea of kind of being dealt with a bad hand, because I think from my family side it's the same way, where it's just like we were all in survival mode, and when you're in survival mode, there's no time to think about your emotional health or your mental health. You're just worried about getting by, having a house, having food, having water, and just having that stability. So it's really difficult to pursue your dreams or your passions unless all of that is actually already there.
I think it's important that we hear each other out on this and build a community, you know. And there's communities like what's that called, the fire community, where they're trying to be financially stable early, like a lot early, and retire, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good for that community. And also having subtle Asian traits on Facebook really helped too, you know. Everybody is like talking about their trauma on there and relating to each other. So those two things are really good, to have community and to solve this somehow, because we're not just dealing with it individually, we're dealing with it more collectively. So if we see it like that, in a grander problem, we can try to solve it like that and feel like we're not alone, because we're not alone. There's so many people. Like, I'm also a firstborn child. Tommy is. Everybody here is a firstborn child. Yes.
And we the older sibling in the
Awesome.
older sibling group.
Sorry, I'm actually the middle child.
Well,
yeah.
it's okay, but yeah, we still all go through things, you know. So just my point is that, like, collectively, we need to think about it like that, instead of hopefully not feeling too bad that these are the hands we're dealt with. Because I felt the same way, Alec. I still go through struggles too, you know. Every day, I'm like, why? I'm helping, so many people that have like dreams that I want to have too. But we have to realize that we live, hopefully, pray to God, pray to Buddha, somebody, that we're gonna live long. But yeah, like just in our minds, right? We want to live a long life. So it's not like we're gonna hopefully not gonna die anytime soon. If we live, let's say, at least until 60. Okay, normally people live longer than that, right? So let's say if we live until 60, we have time to have this career. We have time for that career. We don't have to focus on just one career and zone everything. Like, this is gonna be make it or break it. Because there's so many people that fall and get up so many times, and I think that's just what life is about. You don't have to say, like for me, right? I quit teaching so many times, man. I was like, I'm still a teacher, right? But I would never be like, I quit teaching, so I'm a failure. Well, actually, I do that sometimes, and that's where the anxiety comes from. I'm like, I quit teaching, so I'm a failure. But no, I quit teaching because I want to, well, that's just a different topic, but I do want to advocate for mental health apps within the schools. And I quit teaching because I want to explore new avenues, like coding, like UI, UX. So if I quit teaching, but I really love it, is that like a failure? Is that, no. It's like, okay, that was one chapter. I learned a lot of skills from it. I can move on and have other chapters, other goals, other dreams. And this is what I was talking about with a friend earlier today. I was talking about having multiple goals and dreams. For example, let's say there was this swimmer, right? And I'm going to give a very ridiculous example just to like grab your attention, okay? This Olympic swimmer, he swam, he loved it. Somehow he injured his leg. He's like, dang it, I want to die because I injured my leg. My goal is not there anymore. What I do, my purpose in life. Well, guess what? He became a finalist pianist because his hands are just like magical gods. And now he figured out like a new dream, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you have multiple dreams, man. Don't be stuck on one dream.
What is the scenario?
So what caught your attention, right? So that's what I was saying is that you can have multiple dreams.
I think what Tu is trying to say. So for some context, me, Tu, and On are older. Me and Tu are in our later 20s. On is actually in her early 30s. Alec is only 20. So
I'm a baby.
You could be our seed where we kind of talk to you about like this is how you can grow. But what I think Tu is trying to say is whatever you do is okay. Like there's no wrong path. It's all about time. So perhaps whatever path you choose, whether it's like I'm gonna go and do this podcast and I'm gonna do this for a couple of years and it'll do it for a couple of years, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and then you're like, oh, well, I'm still 20. I don't know. Let's give this 3 years. I'm 23. I want to go back to school now. Or you can go the other route where it's just like, I'm gonna go to school, and I'm gonna like work really hard, and then after that, I'll do the podcast. Mm-hmm. So you can, instead of thinking about like, oh, I have to choose one or the other dream, it's more like, which one do I do first? Mm-hmm. I can still do both.
That's true.
Yeah, but it gets overwhelming because like when you're in that very moment, like right now, you're like, damn, like I have to make a decision. And I know how paralytic it is to be like, oh, which decision is the right decision? Mm-hmm. But I think my personal experience is there are no wrong decisions. There's just decisions, and they lead you to where you need to go at the end of the day. And that brings you some level of peace.
Damn, that's one way to think about it.
Like
I'm just like
multiple goals. It's okay to have backup plans. It's not your goal is not just being one thing. It can be leading to multiple things.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on?
I'm gonna throw this little token out to see if you guys. I think people know about this now, like a lot more people, because Steve Jobs talked about it, and we also taught the curriculum in 6th grade. But basically, it talks about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. I think that's very important because I learned this in college, and kids are learning about it in 6th grade now. So this is really great that they're doing that to the curriculum. But anyway, so the growth mindset is whenever you're open to changes. You work hard for what you want, and you're open to the possibilities. you're not really closed off to just one thing, and you want to grow. But like a fixed mindset, if you hit a challenge, you're just gonna say, man, I suck. I'm just gonna stay like this, and now I'm just gonna whatever, I'm just gonna live this life because I think I suck because I couldn't do this one thing. But if you have a growth mindset, you're going to, create new opportunities for yourself. Even if it's not that, you're not gonna at least maybe try, because I know it's really hard. I also beat myself up a lot. Like in my head, I'm like all these things, but I try to remember that the mindsets. If you have a growth mindset while you're learning something, is a lot better than having a fixed one. And it applies to a lot of things. And I like to do examples because I was an English teacher. But my quick example is if you're on a bike and you fell down. And if you have a fixed mindset, I think you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You got a fixed mindset. So, man, this bike hurt me. Screw this bike. I'm going to my room. Okay? But if you have a growth mindset, you're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to practice this for 10 minutes. Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Okay? I don't know why those random days I said, but I said it. Okay? So then they're going to practice for 10 minutes and you get better, and then eventually you ride the bike. There.
Yo.
So how do you guys feel about growth and fixed mindset? And what's your, do you have examples?
I guess the fixed mindset is mostly kind of like where people freezes up with anxiety. I realize that too. That's another picked up as.
Yeah, I want to just add, I love that they're teaching that in school now.
Yeah.
But I guess mental health was not talked about growing up, at least for our generation. With Alec's generation, maybe it's a little bit better, perhaps.
Did they ever teach you, Alec, when you were in school?
Well, let's see. I think I've only ever learned that more in college, because my instructors were pretty real about it, and my recent psych professor, he made it pretty known. He's like, look, right now you guys shouldn't be dealing with so much stuff. I'm for those taking 18-hour credits, he's like, I hope you guys are okay. For those that are making 12, he's like, you're perfectly fine. You can take your time, enjoy life. But he's pretty he has no filter sometimes. He'll go off. But it's just oh shit, I'm like, that's cool. It's weird for a professor to say that, right? Because when you go to a university, they expect you to do as many hours as possible, get your shit done, and leave, right? But for him, he made it known. He's like, I want you guys to just take your time at life. I'm pretty sure you guys are on the 18 to 27 year gap or whatever. And he's like, it's okay to fuck up and I guess fall. It's that's what the whole point about going to school is, it's people will change majors no matter what. You could be almost finished and you can just change it because you don't like it, which probably isn't the best way. You should probably finish up that bachelor degree. But he's he wanted us to know that it's okay to fall and stumble. And it's as long as we're having fun, we're learning from our mistakes, and we're still being, I guess, we have a healthy mindset. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, that's so cool.
Yeah, one thing I love to tell people, and myself too, is that what Tu was saying about that, using anxiety as a positive energy. Whenever you're anxious and then whenever you're excited, they're both the same physiological response. So your body's feeling the same way. So you could either choose to let the anxiety cripple you, or a lot of new therapy techniques nowadays in psychology is just reframing it as oh, my body's doing something new that's exciting, and to treat whatever your fear is as an opportunity, instead of thinking of for Alec's example, instead of looking at, oh, do I choose my career path or do I choose a passionate path, instead of looking at them as what if I make the wrong choice. It's more which opportunity do I take first? And if you look at them as opportunities, they become less scary.
I don't know, man. I'm so full of anxiety. I'm like, man, if I didn't do this, I wasted an opportunity, and I spiral. I'm like, no, I should have done this.
That's interesting you say that, because anxiety and depression are so co-linked with each other. And I think that's so prevalent in today's time, because everyone has really high expectations of what their future should be. Everyone is expected to have oh, your life should be together. You should have a good family life, a good love life, a good career. And all of that is like, it's really difficult to manage all of that. And then whenever you don't achieve it, when your anxiety kicks in, it's like, oh crap, like this is what my future could have been. They get into that mentality of what Tu was saying earlier, where it's just like, oh, I don't know how to ride a bike. I suck at riding a bike. And they stay in that I'm broken mindset. Yeah, like I'm broken. I'm inherently broken. And because of that, that's how it leads to more depressive episodes, and to, you know, whenever failure turns into a pathophysiological state of like depression. And that's something a lot of people are facing, and that's something I've personally kind of faced growing up.
I feel like at least everyone experienced. I know that everyone at least experienced that once in their life. I'm sure. You guys hear me? No. Oh.
You good. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good.
Was that my phone?
It's okay.
Is everything?
Alright, no, you good.
Okay.
Proceed.
Any thoughts on what we talked about?
Just any examples. Let's say a time when you had a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, or maybe if you saw it with somebody.
I guess like what I was mentioning before was that usually like when I made a mistake, my mindset would kind of be where the thing is where I suck, to be honest. And I think it's my perfectionism that's kicking in for that. So it's something I'm just trying to reframe my thought process of saying, like what Tommy was and my therapist was trying to teach me, was trying to learn to basically, it's called like, I think it's called ACT therapy. Yeah, so where the reframe is more like, I am, like, you know, I suck, but it's more like you should say, I'm having the thoughts of I'm suck, or like basically trying to reframe it where as a third person perspective is trying to have like that thought separated from you. It's learning to kind of, I guess, dissociate it. Is that the word? Diffusing it. So that, yeah. So learning to kind of like diffuse it. But I guess I'm still kind of learning that, really. But it's a little difficult for me to kind of diffuse from it, especially if it's something like I should have known. And yeah, we're still working on it.
I think that's okay. Honestly, I think what Alec was saying earlier was probably very like, did you relate to that? Because it's almost as if like what Alec was saying, it's like his anxiety is almost like fused with him whenever he does his actions and stuff. So it's just hard to just look at things from that third person perspective and be like, oh, I'm just scared, I'll just pick whatever. It's not easy to do once like your mind is kind of like almost fused with those anxious thoughts.
Which I could understand from Alec's point of view, because I'm sure like the way how he was growing up as, especially from his household background where he has like that survival mode for like the longest time, and because of his financial issues growing up, it makes sense why like he was like, I need to be successful to help my family. That's what kind of means. Especially since you guys are all like older, like the older sibling, you guys have that role, unfortunately, especially in the Asian culture, and that's very already hard on you guys to do, really. And like, that's why, like, do you think that, I wonder why like there's that Asian culture for that in the first place? Why is it usually that, you think?
I think it's more so the fact that we came to America and it's like do or die. It's like if you don't do anything, you won't make it. But if you do something right now and push towards it, you'll eventually make something, you know? So it's like you have that stress on top of it, but then you also have the stress of, will it like work out? Because like I think all of my grandma's side, at least, they own convenience stores and gas stations. Why? Because that's the first thing they had. That was the only option.
Right,
and so they pushed towards that, you know?
Right.
And then now their kids have convenience stores and gas stations. Why? Because that's how their parents started.
Right.
So like it'll like, that's where that seed was planted. And it's like, you gotta you gotta make something now, or else your whole generation, your legacy is just gonna fail. But like, I've seen it like work in reverse. Like some like families were poor, but then like their kids became doctors, because that's what my dad's side is like right now. Because I guess my grandparents weren't well off, but then I guess after 9 kids, you're like, damn, it's like I gotta make something. So they have like their shrimp, like seafood shop, right? Then their kids went off to go like to med school and stuff, and like they're well off. My grandparents are retired, and it's just like, you look at that and you're just like, damn, it's possible to do it in reverse, you know? It's like you don't have to have anything to start out with, and you'll still have like a successful like legacy. And it's kind of weird because it's like I'm the oldest son of the oldest son, and it's just like, oh man, that's double the burden. I'm like, what else do we have today? What other traumas do we have to fight? And it's just like, well, I better do my best because I got a rep.
It's just that I just hate the fact that the Asian culture, they lean towards of like the health profession as like the big gold money digging thing. They see that as more like success and status, and I do not like that at all. I really do not, because I think it's amazing that Tu was going to teaching and then going computer science. That's impressive. I think that's amazing, honestly. It's good to revert back.
I have 2 things I want to add to that real quick, and I'm pretty sure, you guys will add to that very beautifully. So, 2 things. I'm hearing financial a lot, right? And whenever I hear financial and that type of pressure, I come from a Buddhist background, so at least from what I hear from my grandma, from what I was taught, material things aren't everything. You probably heard the thing where when you die, you can't bring nothing with you, and it's true. And I also, see circumstances where people get very successful, like they win the lottery or something, and they lose the money because they don't know how to financially handle it, or like something crazy happens, like, I don't know, they gave the money to, an uncle, and he, like, maybe that's more, never mind. But anyways, maybe you gave the money to an uncle, and something terrible happened, like a gang member, or so, like something, like he did something with the money, and then now the gang members are trying to come after your house. Okay, that's actually a personal story, honestly. I know it's funny, but
I'm sorry. No, it's just like I didn't see that coming. I'm just like gang member.
Okay,
I'm like, hold up.
I have that origin story too. Okay, like then this is, and anyways. But so with the money, right? I'm saying, like, for money, yes, you want it so much, but why do people want money? People want money because of status. People want money to stunt, and people want money to have nice things. I think having nice things, that's fine. But like, why else do you want money? Do you want money? You gotta upkeep that money, right? You got money, you buy a big house, you gotta upkeep that house. You gotta pay for somebody to to clean it and stuff, and that's fine if you want to do that, right? But like, don't want to have something and then not be able to continue that lifestyle. I feel a lot of ways about people like showing an image that they're super rich and
They
then not
clout
actually
chasing too. They clout chasing.
Yes, it's clout chasing.
You like my Louis Vuitton bag?
Yeah. For me, I kind of worry more about the person too. If you're doing that, that's not good for you in the end, And so that was about the money part. But I also want to talk about the stigma when it comes to anxiety. Because there is stigma with going to therapy and everything, in certain generations. They have that kind of stigma, like, oh, she crazy, you should go into therapy, So I always feel that way whenever I used to talk about, I went to therapy and this and that. But now it's a lot better because we have a lot more of the younger generations talking about it. And I think it'd be really nice for the older generation to kind of listen in on it too. But yeah, I'm gonna put that out there. If you want to talk about stigma, like financial, why we want to have that. Why do you want to achieve that financial status, right? Do you think that would be good for the family? do you think the family members would use it well? You know, because what are we gonna do with that money, guys? What I want really is a nice warm home. I'm gonna try to keep it clean and everything, you know, and like good connections on this earth. And like, yeah, I do like the Gucci or the Louis or whatever sometimes, but not all the time really, because guess what? It's gonna rip. It's gonna get old. Like a house too. Your house gets old. Your car gets old. Everything else gets old and dies. So, yeah, that's just my take. Preach, Till, preach.
Amen. Amen, girl.
That was amazing.
I mean, see, this is why. So I grew up Catholic, and I started to learn more about Buddhism, and I like the way that Buddhists look at their life, where it's just like nothing, all this material stuff, it doesn't really matter. So I think that the questions that Tu was asking earlier, I would like to hear your response to that, Alec, because that's kind of like your grind mindset right now. Let's say you do pursue this career and you become the breadwinner. Do you actually think that becoming that breadwinner will actually help your family achieve peace in that way?
All right. So, like, why do I want that money, right? Like, why do I need it? So the way I see money is like, especially at a young age, like I used to stockpile on money just in case if my family ever needs to just bounce, pack up our bags and leave. I'd have that, you know? And that money in a way symbolized like freedom or opportunity. Like if I have this money, I have the opportunity to leave and have a better life. So if I want to pursue this career that makes enough money for me to provide for my family, I want to at least be able to like give back to my mom, especially because instead of my dad being the real breadwinner, my mom took care of us. Like she, when we ran away sometimes, she'd be the one to pay for a nice home living, so we can at least like, we don't have to feel like we were, I guess, poor or broke. She'd make sure we were well fed, and I'm just like, that's why like I value money so much, because it's like, it's not about the Louis, it's not about the clout, you know? It's just more so the fact that with that money, I'm able to give back to my family at least, like excluding my dad, but maybe, but like I'm able to give back to them and like, I guess, give to them what my mom gave to me at least. Like, so it's more so like, what's the word for it? It's not exchange, but like, it's almost like
Filial piety.
Yeah, filial piety.
Yes, but
Yeah.
do you think they would use it correctly?
Oh, I know my mom would, because like my mom set the boundary, right? She already knows what the standard is. She's like,
Yeah.
Alec, whenever you and your siblings become successful, all I really want for you guys to do is to just get me a house for me to live in. I mean, you can just buy food for me and I'll be fine. Because my mom, like, she said, I'll work till the day I die. I'm like, please. All right. It's like, because like I tell my mom, is like, I don't want you to do that, because I already see my grandparents doing that, and they're already past retirement age. And like, we just catered for a wedding, you know, and it's just like, I can already see them, like, their bodies hurting. They don't work the same way. And it's like, I told my mom straight up, I don't want you to be like that, you know. It's like, I want to be able to allow you to live a nicer life without having to struggle about money or like your bills. And it's like, I told my siblings too, I'm like, you can do whatever you want, you know. It's like, I just want to be able to be a good role model to them, for them to succeed and do better. Because like, I can already see it in them, like what they want to do, whatever it is. And it's just like, I guess it makes me proud because I'm being the big brother that they need right now, instead of like neglecting them and like doing whatever I want to do.
So I think it's really great that right now that you just said that you're really proud of yourself, because that's progress. That's big progress. Okay?
You know
If
it.
you're proud of yourself.
I ate and left no crumbs, okay?
Yeah, and you're going on like the right path, whatever that is. So and we have a long time to live, a long time to make money too. So whatever it is that you want to do, I just hope that you don't pressure yourself too much and just like go for it and see, because we're gonna make money somehow. We're surviving somehow. We're surviving right now. I had other points, but I kind of lost them, so somebody
good.
else.
Good.
I wanted to bring up that that's very similar to the the Asian American experience, where it's like we have this level of we have like a path where we chase our dreams and passion, and then we also have the path, and that's like our American side, and then we have our Asian path where it's just like financial stability equals freedom equals prosperity equals just overall peace and well-being in the eyes of like the Asian culture, and it's really difficult to like choose one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're struggling with right now. My personal experience with it is I took the doctorate route, so I did end up becoming a doctor of pharmacy, and I was very much like you. I was like 12 when I was like, damn, I'm poor. I need to get my family out of this situation. So for me, I put a lot of personal pressure and responsibility on myself to like get out of, I guess, the lack of financial prosperity, and it ate a lot of my 20s up. And I don't regret what I did at all. So I mean, now I'm kind of pursuing more creative pursuits, because at least what you were saying earlier, where finance equals freedom, there is some truth to that, because now I can just really focus on my dreams, which is like, you know, writing or being more creative and making podcasts on YouTube or whatever. So it's a viable path. But what Tu was saying also makes sense, where it's just like all this money you have your entire lifetime to make, and I don't know what if I had the same opportunity. I think back then the idea of doing something passionate and creative was very foreign to me, but for you, I think it's actually like in the realm of reality, where either path you choose, you will succeed in my opinion. So it's definitely just up to you, like, what do you want to do? They're both right paths.
I think it's also what think about do a pros and cons list. I always do that whenever I'm stuck. Like, what are the pros of this career? What are the cons of the other career? Because let's say, because I'm not exactly sure what you want to be, but I'm going off of Tommy's example of saying he's a doctor of pharmacy. I'm sure that, you know, entails a lot of things. Like, it entails money, but it also includes working long hours all day, every day, long hours, standing up, you know. For me, in my mind, I'm a lot more like creative, so I feel like if I'm in that setting, I'd be like, man, I'm bored. Man, I gotta talk to this person. And, you know, I'll be stressed out and stuff. That's just me. But you know, for a person that can like deal with that and think, you know, like the input and output is doable, then, you know, that's perfect for them. So I'm just trying to see like where, like, what kind of, I guess, give and take you wanna give for that career. Because when you think about actually being in that position, just picture how would it be in that position, right? Or like now we have great things like YouTube. Now if you want to be something, you can just look it up, like a day in the life of I literally looked a day in the life of a software engineer, a day in the life of the UI UX designer and everything,
Yeah.
all of that, right? And I research it and I make sure that, hey, this seems like something I'd want to do, and then maybe test it out. Because I did, and I failed, but I learned a lot.
You're referring to like your
Coding.
Your time of teaching or coding?
Both.
Oh shit!
Okay,
Oh shit!
I had fails,
shit.
but I had a lot of wins too. But this isn't about me. I'm just giving examples.
No, you
right?
good. You good. I understand.
That's
So,
your
yeah.
experience.
I'm
It's fine.
just
Yeah.
I'm just giving examples. You can try something, quote unquote, fail, but it'll still somehow lead you to the path where you want to be. If you have, I feel like this is just what I believe. Whatever religion it is, as long as you have good intentions and you're working hard, like, why is the universe gonna deal you like a horrible ending? You know, I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think you're gonna have a good ending. Just like try to enjoy the ride. But yeah, that's enough with my little encouragement. I'll
No,
have
you
somebody
good.
else, like, Joy.
I appreciate what you guys are saying. It's like, I know it's like both ways can turn out pretty well, but it's like if I choose one or the other, I become, I guess, like, it's not ridiculed, but like, you know, people are like, you really pursued that instead of this,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm just like, knife to the heart.
Man,
Yeah.
I got some thoughts of that. I think no matter what you do, you're gonna get judged for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It really does not matter what you do because, at least for me, one thing I learned is that we're all gonna screw up. We're all gonna fuck up. Like, we all make mistakes. And we're going back to what Tu was saying earlier about that fix or growth mindset. Everyone's gonna screw up. Everyone's imperfect. And no matter, I mean, unfortunately, people judge no matter what. So let's say you become that super successful, I don't know what career path you want to do right now, but let's say you become that doctor that your family is pushing so hard to be. There's going to be people out there that are, or I think most importantly, maybe it's your inner you, your inner child you, where it's just like, man, I could have done the podcast in my 20s. So, and then let's say you'll wake up one day, you're 35 and you're like doing this doctor job. It is really a high stressful job, and it'll bring the financial prosperity to your family and they'll get the clout or whatever. And that's another reason why they use you to, like, you know, I guess further their ambitions and like solidify their, I don't know, their reputation. But then you're going to wake up one day like me. I woke up and I was like, wow, I have this doctorate, but I have all like, I'm very financially stable. I have a nice house, nice car, whatever, but not really 100% happy. And I just, from my personal experience, I just don't want you to go down that path, because for me, there is some levels of like, oh, what if I had pursued something else? And what if I could have been successful and still had my dream along the way too? So that's why for me personally, I would advocate towards pursuing whatever you feel would make you happiest now. And honestly, the way that I think you're so, you're passionate about whenever you do something. So whatever you do, you will succeed in.
I agree with Tommy, but I want to add, like, specifically for the person, everybody has an individual choice. So I think it's really important to not just make like a final decision and try it, right? Like, that's what, from your professor, you know, he's advocating to try it, so I advocate that too. If you can, maybe do a little internship in the, like, let's say medical field that you want to be in, see if you like it, see if you're the type of person for it. Because, like, just my little example, if I was a doctor right now, I'd faint every day, all day, because I'm scared of blood, right? I'm not the person for it. So just kind of see if you're the person for it, and then maybe try, like, whatever creative career that you wanted and intern in it and see, right? But I know there's, like, time and money involved also, so just kind of, you got to make the plans and see how that fits. Can I do it maybe for a summer internship? You know, can I maybe do 2 summer internships and see, one in the medical, one in the creative field, you know? So you don't have to dive in a career and figure it all out. You can kind of test it out, test the waters, and not just feel like, okay, I picked this one career, but what about the other one? Now I never know what the other one is. No, you got time, you know, that's all we're saying. We have time to do all that.
Damn, I didn't think about that.
I like what he was saying, because I mean, obviously you can just be like, well, I tried it out, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say about that, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta be the type of, like, for our parents, yes, they want the best for us, but sometimes your parents don't know you. You know, they work all the time. Like, my parents, they worked all the time. They didn't know. My dad wants me to be a pharmacist. Whenever I was first entering to college, I'm like, Dad, do you even know me? Do you even know too? I got so offended. I was like, no, I'm not going to be a pharmacist, because I suck at chemistry. I suck at physical, like, whatever, you know. And, like, I just have these things where I know, like, I'm not that type of person. So, yeah. Just try things out and don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah. So, any other topics that you guys want to talk about dealing with it? Oh, yeah, the stigma. What about stigma? Like, how do you guys feel about, let's say, we're talking about this on the podcast and then people find out, oh, they have anxiety? Is that scary anymore? No, because we've been talking about this for like over an hour, right? Do you guys still feel scared about having anxiety or any mental health issues?
No.
It's not fair.
What?
It's just like in the early 2000s and like in the 2000s and the 2000 hey, my bad. The 2000s and the 2010s, it was like anxiety was not mental illness or mental health was not even talked about. It was like suck it up, buttercup.
Yes. So I would love to hear your examples on this, because I had a big one, right? Like I moved and I had like so much anxiety in high school that every step was anxious for me. I started growing into depression, you know, and then I went to college and it got so bad that I didn't even like want to talk to people. And people were like, Tu, you know, even my friends didn't understand me sometimes. They're like, Tu, why are you so depressed? Or like, what's happening? And I didn't want to talk to anybody. I thought at the time, like, my only solution was just to handle everything on myself. And I isolated, and I learned now that you're not supposed to isolate. You're supposed to build a community, because if you isolate, you start feeling really bad. You know, you start feeling like you're the only one. You're really alone. So it broke down my communication a lot. I think what saved me was college, because I went to college and I had to do a lot of scary things, put myself out of my comfort zone. So I joined this communications class, and she was talking about, you know, like getting everybody to communicate. And I remember at the time I was so anxious that I couldn't even talk about like a topic. And that's why I think growth, there's like a lot of growth, right? I'm hella talkative right now. But like back then, and this is only a few years ago, she brought out like a piece of paper, and I think it was about like, what's one of your like memorable trips? And you know what I said? I said, I like went to Disneyland, and like I like fried pickles, and like I know, but I was like, oh shit, why am I so awkward in front of everybody? And then like I left the class and I went to like some random bench on the college and I started crying. I'm like, why am I like this?
Oh no!
I was like, why am I like this? I'm such an anxious ball, I can't communicate, right? But like I could have stayed like that, right? I could have stayed an anxious being. No. I tried for that class. I actually made my research on mental health, but at the time I was hella scared, because you know what all I found? I said, they sent these people to the mental asylum. And I was like, oh hell no. Oh shit, I want to go to the mental asylum. So I was so scared, okay? But I presented that like, hey, you know, like my presentation was like, you know what, that's what they used to do to people. Maybe we shouldn't do that to people. And I got a B. How did I get a B? But anyways, yeah.
You got a B?
I know. Oh. Yeah, but my point was like, okay, yeah, I couldn't even say a sentence, but at the end of the class, I was able to say a sentence. I also wanted to talk about something else, you know, but I didn't, and that's for another day. Like, I also really wanted to educate people on another thing. Oh, this will relate back to mental health, so I will mention it. About stigma, okay? So this is gonna be a really spicy one, because a lot of people are scared of this. Herpes. Okay?
Wait.
Herpes. A lot of people are scared of herpes.
Huh?
Wait.
I wasn't ready for this.
Let me.
Wait. A moment of wait. Hold up. Let's give her a moment to speak, and then we can jump in about herpes.
I just need a moment.
Okay, because
I'm ready.
I wanted to make this my presentation, but I couldn't, because I was like, damn, there's a lot of hella stigma on this, and I couldn't, because my professor at the time, she was worried about. She was like, man, you know, everybody's scared of getting herpes, you know? And she's like, please, nobody talk about herpes, or else, if you talk about it, then, you know, it's gonna freak everybody out. I'm like, man, people should talk more about herpes, because there's so much, like, stigma. Well, I get cold sores. Cold sores are herpes, okay? And a lot of people, herpes is dormant. It lays dormant within you. So I only know this because I figured this out when I was little, that, like, if you get a little cold sore on your face, people are like, disgusting monster, and they run away. So I was like, well, I'm not a fucking disgusting monster. I just don't know why I have this. Probably hereditary. So I like did a bunch of research on it. But anyway, so there was a stigma. But I think if more people realize that like most people have it, okay, and it's not like gonna be the end of the world if you prevent it, right? If you do preventative measures. And I feel like that's the same thing with mental health. Like, if people can talk about depression, if people can talk about anxiety, then they can get help for it. Or if herpes is a lot more like destigmatized, then people can go out and not feel embarrassed about getting like a cold sore treatment. Or, they can talk about other things. Like, I ain't talking about sex or anything right now. But, obviously, you guys know what I mean. There's a 1 and there's a 2. And people need to be more informed. And I'm not the one to inform on this podcast today. But you know what I mean.
I'm sorry. You kind of threw us all off as like, I got something else that I'll tie into mental health. Herpes. We were like, wait, hold up. Wait,
but, like,
herpes.
Can you see how that ties
No.
I see what you mean.
Stigma and awareness. No, you're right.
I do want to give a medical fact check that Tu is correct. There is a type of herpes that's like prevalent in 90% of the population, so it's it's common and it shouldn't be stigmatized at all. So I agree with you too. You're right. You're right.
You're right, girl.
You're damn right.
Chicken pox is a strand of herpes and shingles. Okay, am I right? Am I
it
right?
is. You're right.
And a lot of people get it. Okay.
Yup.
We
So
got
y'all
you.
need to stop
We got
making
you
fun of
too.
people up in middle school because they made fun of me. Hello, they were like,
Oh
this
no,
monster.
that's
Oh,
not.
I was like, you know what? I ain't no damn monster. And then it was stupid too because I remember, because I'm feisty. So whenever they're telling me that like, oh, you're a monster for herpes, I'm like, you should not be taunting the monster right now. I'm like, how the hell?
I will destroy you. I will end you.
I was just like, yeah, but it's just a joke.
my
I ain't
God.
destroying nobody. But yeah.
I'd be too scared to talk to you when I was in middle school. I'm like, oh shit.
I was shocked.
Oh,
It's
wow.
on my head,
Oh, is this on your head?
Yeah,
Oh,
literally
okay.
just poker face. It's like, man, that idiot. And I walk away. I wouldn't like do anything about it. But that's probably 10 years ago versus now. I'm very different. I think my friends would agree.
Damn.
We're a lot more open.
Her inner thoughts become more exposed.
Yes.
Now.
I know.
I'm glad
Less
that you're
filter.
able to be like.
This is my filter.
I'm glad you're able to be your authentic you now too.
I know.
That's great. That's the growth we be looking for. We be looking for that.
Herpes. Oh.
A lot of years. See, we still try to destigmatize it. You see.
No, you're right.
But yeah. Because
My,
we're so used to making fun of it, and then it was funny. It's scary, right? And then it's icky, so that's why people kind of stigmatize it. But I kind of relate that back to anxiety. It's negative, right? So people are like, "Oh, you got this negative thing. I'm gonna stay away from you," right? So whether it's depression, anxiety, herpes, whatever, you broke your leg. Some people look at you different. You break your leg, but anyways, like that happens. So whatever you stigmatize, gay rights. Do not stigmatize people. Why y'all stigmatizing everybody?
Did you say gay
is
rights?
human. Yes.
Oh, that's actually what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Actually,
Cool.
from my it was stigmatized whenever I was growing up because they were like, Tommy's gay because he's like emotional. So I grew up with anxiety
What?
and depression and stuff. So
They did that? Oh, he's gay.
yeah, because I was like a timid kid, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
This ties back to like masculinity, honestly. So for being a guy, you're supposed to be like, boisterous and you're supposed to be like the one speaking loudly. I know this guy in my friend group and he's like the stereotypical like you gotta be a man. So whenever we're all talking in a group, he's always the loudest one. He's always trying to dominate everyone's conversation. And I wasn't like that growing up. So like the culture back then was like, oh, if you're shy and timid, I mean, maybe they associate that with being like feminine. And then they came to this conclusion where it's just like, Tommy's probably gay. So I remember being in middle school and they're like, yeah, Tommy's gay. And I was like, I don't think I like boys though, guys. What do you mean? Like, and that's why I'm a little bit bitter that now that mental health is a lot more in the forefront and it's more talked about, because I was like, man, when I was growing up, like it's kind of how like being like an anime fan, like in the past you had to be a closet anime fan.
Oh yeah.
But now it's just like, oh, like everyone's an anime fan. Like anime is cool. If you don't like anime, then what's wrong with you? And
No.
I just wish I had that experience growing up, and that's why I'm slightly bitter. But I'm glad that we made growth. That's what's important. I think we are growing as a society, and it's a good thing overall.
Yes. What other things do you think should not be stigmatized? Because there's a lot of things like gay rights and everything, right? I teach kids, so I know what the stigmas are. You know, you get like a pink eye, ooh, you got the cooties. You smell weird, ooh, you know, and then like saying, you know, like if you're gay too, I noticed that even now in the generation, they're like out, they bully anybody that's different, you know. You got your hair different that day, but it's also middle school students, you know. So, but I see it in adults too. So I think it's very important to talk about like what we stigmatize. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think people stigmatize, and why shouldn't it be stigmatized?
What are kids stigmatized nowadays, though? I was just curious.
They stigmatize each other just because
just because they're different, basically.
Yeah. Oh, they're different. Any differences? So your hair is looking a certain way. Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah. No, for real. I mean, since I guess I'm the baby of the group, I can kind of relate because it's like, what is it? Whenever you're younger, you want to fit in as much as possible. You gotta have the nice shoes, the nice style, the hair, whatever. And it's like, I remember one time, we had a family portrait at Macy's, I think, right? Macy's or Sears? What is it? You go to Sears or Macy's to get your picture done? And my mom's like, sorry, dude, you don't have time to go to the hairdresser. Let me fade you up real quick, right? And then I got this botched haircut. I hope I don't have any pictures of it, but if I do, I'll put it in there. But I remember going to school the next day. It's like, yo, this guy's hair is fucked up. I'm like, no. And like, you can't hide it, you know? You can't wear a hat to class. It's like, that's against the rule. Alec, you can't do that. And you're just like, fuck, I have to wait for this to grow out in like 2 weeks and then get an actual fade up. And it's like, that's like where it festers in the beginning, right? And like, you see that whenever you grow up, right? Because whenever somebody else messes up your hair, you're afraid if somebody's gonna see it. And so like, I feel like most of the times things that we stigmatize are like the anxiety part, right? It comes from whenever we're younger, because it's like maybe it doesn't have to deal with like family or the people around us, which is like you have to deal with yourself. And it's like what was it? I had a sty when I was younger, and like I had to read a passage out of the book. And I think that teacher knew what was up, because she gave me the longest paragraph in that damn reading book, and I'm just like, damn you, woman, damn you. So it's like, yeah, I look down and try to cover the book with my face, but she's like, Alec, that's not a professional way to read to the class. And she's like, she stands up with me and she shows me. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, don't do this to me right now. And she's like, you see me look up, my swollen eyelid. And everybody's just like, dude, what happened to you? Did like a bee sting you? Did you get in a fight and your eye just kind of swole up? Yeah. It's like, it's just a sty, guys. Oh. And I turn around and like I sling a teardrop and I look out the window.
Did she make everybody read, or did she like specifically like? She
made everybody read, but I knew she was. What was up? She gave me this long ass paragraph in the book talking about mythology. I'm like, woman. I was like, she's like, does anybody want to read next? And she looks at me. It's like, him, the kid. I'm like, no.
Yeah, she should have known that you were anxious. Honestly, as a teacher, just coming from that perspective, I would have probably been a little bit more understanding. You know, but I know like it's not right to defend her, but I'm a teacher, so like a lot of things go on in my mind. I'm like, here, you read, and then like sometimes I forget that too, that kids are just anxious. So I bought them like little toys in order to get them comfortable in reading. But I think some people don't have that social cue. Like, do you think she's somebody that like has the
She was in middle school. She wasn't passing around toys. The only thing she was passing around were F's. Oh man, I remember that. I was like, I did the passage and I failed that quiz.
Oh, yeah, I don't know then. I don't relate to her.
But like, I feel like it did the opposite effect though.
There's good teachers and there's just straight up bad teachers. Like my experience, like I remember one time where like I had like a really bad acne breakout, and then my teacher calls me up to the front of the class, and she asked me like, hey, are you good? Are you like stressed or something? And I was like, no, I'm not. Actually, I think I lied. I was like, yeah, this acne is because I'm really stressed.
I think it's she did something messed up, but is she the type of person that's oblivious?
No,
No?
she's. I think she
She knew
was. She
damn
was my
well.
favorite teacher, but she still did that. I
Oh.
just think perhaps maybe teachers have a lot to
And then they
balance.
don't have a filter. You see, I don't have a filter.
Honestly,
Yeah.
maybe she was just tired that day. I don't know,
But
but
not
I mean,
to make excuse her, that was wrong.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
wrong for both
I mean-
instances. Validating y'all. But
It just sucked because like she was like, "Is it?" I think it was like finals week, and she was like, "Are you stressed because of finals?" And I was like, "I'm acing all my finals." Like, yeah, I'm just really stressed because of my finals. But the whole class looked at me, and I
Oh,
felt,
yeah, no.
I just felt myself like I felt my sweat pores open up in that very moment.
He calls more acne. He calls more acne because we get like, oh shit. He's like, I lied about my stress and this stress making me have my breakouts and shit. Oh no. Oh man.
Did you ever feel like that, Anne? Like, either any stigmas or like bullies in school that cause any anxiety? Or like see it?
Let's see.
Not to put you on the spot though. If you
No,
need to
it's fine. I just remember in elementary I was actually the bully.
Oh, so you caused
I caused
you
the
caused a
bully.
stigma.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, I didn't really cause the
I'm
stigma.
gonna say.
I think I think I was mad.
Alex said, "You are the stigma creator." I said, "Wait, what?" Excuse me.
I was poking at her, and they're saying, "Well, actually, I'm not the stigma." I was like, "Wait, backfire!"
No, the reason why I was the bully, I think because I was mad that day at them. I told one of them fat and the other one was skinny. I felt so bad.
But what did they do to make you mad?
I don't know. I was trying to remember. What did they do?
It must have hurt so much you had to like
I
mentally
had
block
to-
it out.
Probably.
She.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
But I think another, I guess, stigma was the anime thing, because I loved reading manga back then in middle school, and I keep asking my friends, like, hey, yeah, I would love to read more of your mangas, and she lent it to me, but then, like, literally in 8th grade, I made everyone, like, write this notebook, you know, kind of like, you know, an autograph or something, because it was our last year of middle school, and then she said, like, yeah, I wish you the best of luck, but I just want to let you know you are such an anime manga freak. And I'm like, what?
Oh, damn! What the hell? She lured you in with the nice, and she's like, "You're just an anime freak." Like, oh.
Yeah, I was kind of upset. I was like, why did she write that? But it was around that time where I was still kind of, I guess, gaslighting my feelings, to be honest, because I didn't know how to feel. Because it's like, am I supposed to? I didn't know, like, am I supposed to feel mad or sad or be thankful or something? I didn't know, really, but yeah.
Yeah. You go through all those emotions as kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
Gaslighting emotions.
Yeah.
That just hits too different, man. I don't miss it because I was like, man, I can't gaslight my emotions now. I saw what happened when I did. I was like, oh hell no! Like, I'm not gonna put myself in that position again.
Maybe maybe that's what we could talk about on the next episode. We could talk about how we deal with our feelings and how sometimes people will gaslight us, or sometimes we gaslight ourselves. But that'll be a wrap up of today's episode. This is Thienletics is signing out. Any final thoughts, Alec?
Take it easy, gang. Everything will be okay.
Final thoughts, guys? Any final thoughts you want to impart before we end today?
Today we talked about anxiety, and then in the next episode we will investigate how we deal with it.
Oh yeah, coping mechanisms. I got a bunch of those. All right.